I, William Arthur Philip Louis, take thee, Catherine Elizabeth, thy wedded wife, having to hold from this day forward, better for worse, for richer for poorer, in sickness and in health.
We saw a bride who's going to be very happy in this royal family.
The entire world is watching. Something like 2 billion people watch this, more than any event in history.
He chose St Andrews University, and so, by chance, did Kate Middleton. And that, of course, where they were both first-year students, freshers, that's where they met. And if there is one word which sums up their relationship, I think it's one of respect.
Since those early days, their romance has blossomed into a modern-day fairy tale that has been documented and watched across the world.
Never before have members of the royal family been seen in the same way as we view celebrities, but Kate and William are a very good-looking pair, and because they come across so down-to-earth, I think we're viewing them in a completely different way.
Their relationship has grown, strengthened and transformed into an inseparable marriage and a true partnership.
We've been talking about marriage for a while, so it wasn't a massively big surprise, but I took her up somewhere nice in Kenya and proposed.
It's very romantic. There's a true romantic in that.
There is.
And they are now one of the world's most respected and famous couples.
Their relationship grew out of cold winter nights spent in a university digs, having spaghetti bolognese and talking about anything other than being a prince or princess.
Come with us as we discover their uniquely romantic story. We take you back through the couple's early years together, and we follow their journey to becoming the golden couple they are today. This is William and Kate, the first 40 years. At the time of the announcement of their engagement, Prince William and Kate Middleton were often featured in newspapers and gossip magazines, more so than any other royal couple. Prince William has always been known for his humble and down-to-earth manner, and it is these traits that make him, perhaps, the nation's favourite prince, exemplified by his decision to visit Chile on a charitable teaching quest during his gap year.
Basically, I wanted to do something constructive in my gap year, rather than, I could do quite a lot of work, but I thought this was a bit more of a way of trying to help people out and meet a whole range of other different people from different countries, and at the same time helping people in remote areas of Chile.
William, you're going to be quite a long way away. How much do you think you're going to miss your dad and your brother?
I'll probably miss them quite a bit. No, I miss them a lot, but as it's only 10 weeks, and I'll probably be, once I get out there, I'll be quite committed, so I'm going to dig in and make the most of what I'm doing out there and just get on with what I've got to do and then come back just before Christmas.
He may have been born to a life of privilege, but in Patagonia, no task is too humble for this future king. Cleaning the toilet floor was a weekly task for him during his rally expedition to Chile. These latest pictures also show Prince William preparing to cook porridge for breakfast. He admitted it wasn't a culinary triumph. But the prince was an instant hit with children at a nursery in the village of Tortel, where he's been based for the last 2 months. He says he chose to come to this remote land because he'd never been to South America, and the Chileans, friends said, were very hospitable. It's hardly been a holiday, though, the young prince doing a stint as a lumberjack, in which not everything went exactly to plan.
Oh.
Yeah. William shrugged off the setback.
And he walks out of this competition, head held low, not very happy.
The prince has also had to do the washing, with mixed results. I can still smell it, he said. He's insisted he's treated like anyone else on this expedition. That's meant sleeping in an old nursery classroom with 15 others, and chopping up the firewood for heating and cooking.
My name is Will. I am a wombat. And then you try and make a noise that a wombat makes.
Giving lessons at the village school, he's shown that he's a natural with children. It's evident that he's inherited his mother's easy manner as well as her looks.
How am I going to remember that?
He's emerged from his gap year trip more confident and more relaxed than ever before.
Have you any thoughts for the future when you come back?
I just want to enjoy my gap year and hope that goes well. And so far, thanks to all of you, it has gone very well. And basically, I'm looking forward to going to university next year.
One of the great things about my job has been that I have, over the last few years, had an opportunity to meet William several times. And when I first met him, he was just in his last year at university. And really, none of us had seen Prince William, apart from a shy guy, tragically with his head bowed behind his mother's coffin at her funeral. Really, he was an unknown entity. And what struck me then, and still strikes me about Prince William, is that he is incredibly media savvy. He is shy. He's not big and flashy.
Prince William has got such a solid kind of grounding, really, in the eyes of the press. I think the press and the public really admire him. They think he's very grown up. He had to grow up very quickly, particularly after the death of his mother. He's definitely the mature one between him and his brother, Prince Harry. And I just think there's a great deal of admiration and respect for him. Yet people feel that there's a connection with him. It's not like he's one of those members of the royal family who seems so distant from the public and so far removed. He genuinely seems like he really cares about the public.
He is very, very normal, very, very pleasant person to speak to. And he knows, just I think like his mother, Princess Diana, he knows how to put people at ease very quickly, and he'll look people in the eye and he'll use their Christian names a lot. And you know, he's at pains really to kind of connect with people on a one-to-one level, which again, as a prince, you know, that speaks volumes.
Since their first meeting in 2001, Prince William and Kate Middleton's relationship has grown ever stronger. Despite having come from very different backgrounds, their bond as a couple seems to be unbreakable.
I think probably one of the reasons that Kate and William found they had such a bond together, particularly on his side, was the fact that they had kind of quite different, very different backgrounds. He obviously had his parents had gone through a divorce, and then he had the tragic death of his mother, whereas she was quite an ordinary girl by all accounts. She lived quite an idyllic life, her family got on very well, it was all very harmonious, and it was almost like she brought something new to the table for William, and so he found a bit of solace in the fact that she had such a tightly knit family. He really enjoyed going to visit her parents at weekends, and I think that probably gave him something that he didn't have from his own family.
With Kate Middleton now dating a prince and rapidly becoming one of the world's most famous faces, the paparazzi and the tabloids had a decision to make. Would they respect her privacy or give her the same intrusive treatment as Princess Diana, which ended in tragic circumstances?
William and Harry are acutely aware of where things went wrong in the press in their early life. And there's an argument, quite a strong one, to suggest that the wheels so spectacularly fell off Diana's life and her public image, and how she was portrayed in the press and how she was pursued by journalists and photographers, that contributed to her tragic demise. And I think what you have with William is a guy who has learnt lessons. And there's really nothing any of those grey-suited men from Clarence House could genuinely tell William that he doesn't already know about the press. And he understands the media. He understands that as a royal, you're never going to be elected. But that doesn't mean that public opinion isn't incredibly important to you and your longevity. And William, I think, really understands that. He gets it. He is very, very open and willing to forge relationships with the press. But he wants it on his terms, and he does not want a repeat of what we saw with Princess Diana.
Prince William and Kate Middleton's romance is a story that has fascinated the public. But to truly understand their unique and magical journey, we have to go back to where it all started. Catherine Elizabeth Middleton was born on the 9th of January 1982 in Reading, Berkshire. She grew up in what was considered to be a perfect family environment, alongside her brother, James, and her sister, Pippa.
Her father, who was a pilot and worked for British Airways with the rank of captain, and her mother, who was a flight attendant, was quite clearly an ambitious young girl, growing up in Southall, which is not a salubrious suburb, where it's more or less like living under the flight path at John F. Kennedy Airport in New York. She could look up when she was a child and see the big glamorous airplanes landing. And she thought to herself, I'm going to be a flight attendant. And she ended up as a flight attendant, and she ended up meeting a pilot, and she ended up marrying him. And there's definitely ambition in the family of the best sort, a bootstrap operation. But they were not poor, they never were. He was always on a pilot's salary. But they set out to make their own company. Party pieces, they saw a niche in the market. And what they did is what good parents have always done. They've invested in education. It cost them a lot of money. They sent all of their 3 children to good schools. In the case of Kate, to Marlborough School, which is one of the top public schools, which means private in British terms, schools, where she did quite well. And I think she had one of those childhoods where there was a lot of happiness, there was a lot of family feeling. And I think that that is what attracted William to her.
As Kate's early years were proving to be idyllic, Prince William's childhood was plagued by tragedy. William Arthur Philip Louis, the first child of the Prince and Princess of Wales, was born at St Mary's Hospital, London, on the 21st of June 1982. His arrival triggered front-page headlines around the world, and a future King of England was soon presented to an adoring public. William's brother, Harry, was born on the 15th of September 1984.
I remember saying to Princess Diana on one occasion when her son was getting taller and taller, I said, you've bred some height into the royal family. And she said, yes, and good looks, and good looks. And what she was talking about was the introduction of her family, the Spencers, into a very tight royal gene pool. And the result was 2 good-looking sons.
The Prince and Princess of Wales are to separate. Buckingham Palace said the decision was reached amicably and the couple have no plans for divorce. The palace said no third parties are involved.
We have reports from Paris that Diana, Princess of Wales, has been killed in a car accident and that her partner, Dodi Fayed, has also been killed. They were apparently being pursued by paparazzi on 2 motorcycles.
William was just 15 years old and his brother Harry only 12 when their mother was tragically killed in a car accident in Paris. There was worldwide sympathy for the 2 brothers as their grief was played out so publicly in the media spotlight. Kate Middleton's school life at Marlborough got off to a tough start as she was bullied on a regular basis.
And when she got there, she wasn't particularly popular at the beginning. The boys apparently, in the refectory, in the dining hall, as the young girls would come in, they would hold up their paper napkins with scores on for the girls, saying whether they were attractive or they were not attractive. And when she first arrived, rather thin, rather nervous, rather timorous, you know, they held up 1 or 0 or 2. not very nice for a young girl, but she didn't complain, she didn't cry, she didn't ask to be taken out of the school. She got on with it and she became successful.
But Kate's strength of character shone through as she started to develop a more confident personality and ultimately became more popular amongst her peers.
And by dint of applying herself, became popular. It wasn't given to her on a plate. And as she filled out a little bit and she got some colour in her cheeks and she became more assured, the attraction grew and she was a very popular person.
The Kate Middleton that we see now is very different from a very shy, quite asthmatic schoolgirl who frankly wasn't sort of everyone's best friend. She wasn't the girl that everyone wanted to necessarily be seen with.
She was sporty, she played a lot of sports, and generally they haven't been able to find anything bad. I mean, I think what's remarkable about Kate Middleton is that there has been so little that's come out of her past that's scandalous or some incident where she was rude to somebody or bullying. I mean, there's nothing.
As one would expect, Prince William was sent to a very prestigious school, Eton College, close to Windsor Castle, his grandmother's favourite home.
William's education was at Eton College. Eton College is probably the leading public school in England, and it's very traditional. William's mother, Diana, Princess of Wales, insisted that he went to Eton, as did her father and her younger brother Charles. Prince Charles acceded to this. He went to Gordonston, where he was thoroughly miserable and cried almost every time he had to go back to school, even as a teenager. And he allowed his sons both to go to a very elitist school. It's very elite, it's very expensive, it's very posh, if you will, but it also has a degree of freedom for the pupils. They are encouraged to be self-confident and to find themselves. And when William came there after being at Ludgrove, the prep school, and he was there and he did very well. Eton was right for William. He enjoyed the sports, he enjoyed swimming, water polo. He loved playing football, soccer.
After finishing at Eton, the decision was left to William as to where he would complete his education. He chose St Andrews University in Scotland, and it was here that he would meet Kate Middleton. Prince William's university life did not get off to the greatest start, and he considered dropping out after only the first year, but he persevered. Initially, Prince William and Kate were just friends, but the prince's perception changed after Kate took a confident stroll along a catwalk at a charity fashion show. He took the initiative, and their relationship moved to the next level.
Does it occur to you that it's somewhat inappropriate for a future Queen of England to have been photographed in?
It does, but back then I'm sure she had her reasons for wearing it. We still don't know whether she was put in it or if she chose to wear it, which I like to think she chose to put it on because she thought it might be a bit of a showstopper. It's a part of history now.
Legend has it that that's what finally nailed William and made him decide that he was a young girl worth some more attention.
One thing that most definitely helped William and Kate's relationship to blossom naturally was the decision made by the British tabloids to give William and Harry complete privacy during their further education and allowing them as near a normal life as possible during that vital part of their lives.
They would spend time walking in the park, not fearing a photographer in a hedge. And while pictures were taken, newspapers agreed under this special agreement that was made after Diana's death not to actually publish those pictures. So there was no market. You cannot underestimate how important that has been in their relationship. William met Kate at university when he was in that period of being left alone by the media, out of the public light.
Having lived in Hall, they were then bold enough with two friends, another boy and girl, to actually take a farmhouse outside the small town of St Andrews, where they lived in this sort of little menage, this family-type relationship for a couple of years. And obviously they got to know each other quite well, probably very well, at this time. And I think this is where the bedrock of their relationship was established. They were very close, but at all times, they were highly discreet. They were almost never seen together. They were, even with their friends, they didn't allow any gossip to start. People speculated, but there was nothing definite which proved that they were an item. And I think the fact that she was discreet and that she wasn't blabbering on about her love or her regard for Prince William, I think that stood her in good stead.
Kate Middleton's relationship with Prince William was first revealed to the British public when William decided to take her on a family skiing trip to Closters in Switzerland, a favourite haunt of his father's for skiing holidays.
So, Prince William, romance clearly in the air here. Could there be another wedding perhaps on the card sometime soon?
No, I don't think so.
In April 2005, William took the decision to take Kate Middleton, his new girlfriend as she was then, on the skiing holiday with her father and with Prince Charles in Closters in Switzerland. Now, of course, the fact that 2 years in a row, suddenly this pretty brunette that we didn't know anything about was being brought on a holiday again with Prince Charles and William, that caused massive media attention. There was a frenzy, frankly, and just about every skiing photographer across the Alps rushed to Closters to try and get pictures of Kate. On that holiday, I met up with William and Kate and Harry in a nightclub in Closters quite late at night, but we had a long chat, and William wanted to know, quite bizarrely really, I thought it would be obvious, but he wanted to know why all of a sudden there was just this enormous media storm around his little skiing holiday in the Alps. And of course I found myself in a position where I was having to explain to William, who I'm sure knows better than I did, that we were naturally interested in a girl that frankly can be a future Queen of England. And you know, I think he understood it, but I think he wanted me to tell him.
William and Kate both graduated in 2005, with William achieving a Scottish Master of Arts degree with upper seconds class honours. The news made the front pages around the world. William and Kate began to explore what their lives would be like following university. Prince William's career and his life of duty had been planned ahead, but for Kate it was no easy task. She joined the English retail chain Jigsaw, but she was distracted, and her focus of attention was quickly pulled away from her professional commitments to the young prince. Following the British royal family's tradition of military training and connection, William undertook his basic army training and later graduated from the prestigious Royal Military Academy Sandhurst for officers.
But it wasn't until William's passing out parade that Kate made her first official appearance as his girlfriend.
And she could kind of base her entire life around being William's professional girlfriend. I think this kind of thing got her the nickname Weighty Katie, because a lot of young women felt that she'd really sublimated any life of her own to run around like his lackey. And yet, the job description of William's wife, or William's fiancée, is very much along those lines. And I think Kate was showing the royal family and William that she was ready and willing to do what was required of her to fill that role.
William's Army and Royal Air Force training began in real earnest. And on his passing out day, a proud Kate was there to see her man get his stripes and show her support.
The next chapter in the royal love story was a shock to the British public, with the news that William and Kate had split up in April 2007.
I think everybody assumed that Prince William and Kate Middleton were going to get married. They were going to stay together forever. They'd been together for a substantial amount of time. And then when they split, it made you realise just actually they are human beings. They're going through a very public breakup. There was pictures of Prince William cavorting about with some girl in Bournemouth near Bovington where he was in the army. And you just thought, Kate Middleton must hate this. And she's got to remain dignified throughout. I don't think then anyone expected them to actually get back together, because you thought they'd split up for a reason. So when they did get back together, you knew that it was serious stuff.
He certainly thought it was over. He went around saying, well, I'm free. And she said to her friends, it's all over with William. But it's interesting that he then realised, and it must have been him, that he was not going to do better than Kate Middleton. And he rebuilt the bridges between them because it was not something she could do. She had been dumped, essentially. And he then came back to her. And I think she said in an interview, you learn a lot about yourself. And she had endured it. And it was fairly public. It was known about. But she didn't complain. She didn't run off to the tabloids. She didn't start speaking to her friends, knowing that they would be interviewed and their stories would appear. She was very discreet. She was very modest in the true sense of the word, which you don't find very often these days. And in a way, you can say it paid off because she bagged the big one.
With the royal romance now back on track, the couple put the short break behind them and started looking to their future together. With the media now speculating that Kate would eventually marry into the royal family, they started making the inevitable comparisons between Kate and Princess Diana.
Kate, whether she likes it or not, is going to be compared to Diana in terms of being a fashion icon. I don't think she has got quite the same flair for experimenting as Diana possibly did, but there's no doubt, you know, she's marrying the heir to the throne, so there's all sorts of designers who are going to be desperate for her to be wearing their clothes.
I think William will try and do everything he can to make sure that there are no similarities. I mean, what we saw with Princess Diana when she married Prince Charles, she just suddenly was thrust into the global sort of spotlight, became one of the most recognised people on the planet. Now, I think that probably is a destiny that awaits Kate, but William's very keen that it will be done on her terms. There are similarities between Kate Middleton and Diana. I mean, the most fundamental one being that they've both chosen to opt into one of the most wacky families in Britain. And I don't think anyone would tell me off for saying that. Being a royal, getting into the goldfish bowl that is the household, my goodness, you'd have to really love the person that asked you to get in there with them.
In 2010, came the news that the British public had been waiting for. Prince William had proposed to Kate Middleton during a trip to Kenya, and she had accepted.
Flying himself into the land his family have worked for generations. Ian Craig's plane touches down in Lewa, the romantic hideaway Prince William chose to make his proposal. Acutely aware of William's desire for privacy, family friend Craig played host to the couple when they wanted to come to Kenya.
What we know about the engagement was that William whisked Kate off to his favourite part of the world, Kenya, where he went when he was on a gap year. Took her off, hid the ring in his rucksack and waited for the opportunity to sort of finally, after all these years, pop the question. Now, Kate subsequently said that she wasn't expecting it. If Kate didn't see William's question coming, then I would question her entire... I don't know what planet she's been living on. I mean, frankly, everybody was waiting for the moment. I recently found out through the palace staff that they were convinced that this was the holiday where William was finally going to pop the question. They were all on standby to announce when they got back.
And you produced the ring?
Yeah.
There and then?
I did, yeah. I'd been carrying it around with me in my rucksack for about 3 weeks before that, and I literally would not let it go. Everywhere I went, I was keeping hold of it because I knew this thing, if it disappeared, I'd be in a lot of trouble. And yeah, because I planned it, it went fine. As you know, you'll hear a lot of horror stories about proposing and things going horribly wrong. It went really, really well, and yeah, I was really pleased that she said yes.
The news of their engagement was met with enormous joy by the royal family.
It's the most brilliant news, and I'm just so happy for both of them. They are so happy, I mean, it's wicked.
So maybe we just ask your reaction to the wedding, please, sir?
Obviously thrilled, thank you very much. I'm practicing for long enough.
As you know, Catherine and Prince William have been going out together for quite a number of years, which is great for us because we've got to know William really well. We all think he's wonderful, and we're extremely fond of him. They make a lovely couple, they're great fun to be with, and we've had a lot of laughs together. We wish them every happiness for the future.
One delightful aspect of the engagement was that Prince William gave Kate the ring his mother had been given by Prince Charles at the time of their engagement.
And I think it was very telling that he chose to give Kate Middleton his mother's engagement ring. And he said, I want my mother to be part of this, to be present. Not in a sinister way, of course not the ghost at the feast, but there to enjoy the celebrations and the fun of it all, of a great occasion. And I think people are very well aware of the background, and they certainly have a great deal of sympathy, and they're almost willing them to be happy, because he particularly has had difficulties in his life, but he's come through them, and because of his mother's influence on the upbringing, which she made as normal as possible, I think he's grown up in an extraordinarily down-to-earth manner.
I think what it means for William is a far more sort of intimate, has a far more intimate meaning. Prince William will rarely ever talk about his mother publicly. He will very, very rarely do anything to kind of draw comparisons with him and his mother. And certainly he hates the thought that Kate might be seen as the new Princess Diana. But his decision to give her his mother's engagement ring, I thought, was very significant, because it sort of showed that William wanted his mother on his big day to be right there at the very heart of what was going on. And actually it was quite, you know, in a non sort of soppy way, I thought it was quite touching that he chose to give them that ring.
Kate Middleton and Prince William married on the 29th of April 2011 at Westminster Abbey in London. The glittering occasion was witnessed and watched by billions of people around the world, a spectacular event that has rightfully earned its place in British history.
This is an absolutely extraordinary royal wedding, because for the first time in centuries, a future king is going to marry a woman who is neither a member of royalty, a foreign royal house, or British aristocracy. He's going to marry what is called a commoner in this country, an ordinary person. But I don't believe she is an ordinary person. She is probably a good example of one of the best things that the royal family has done for years.
I think we're going to see a lot of elements in this wedding that we haven't seen before in a royal wedding. It's going to be a lot younger, maybe a lot more current, but it's going to reflect both William and Kate's personalities.
Before the day of the wedding, there was much speculation as to who Kate Middleton would choose to design her dress. English designer Sarah Burton, creative director of the luxury fashion house Alexander McQueen, was selected by Kate, and the dress itself was a creation of extraordinary beauty and elegance.
Youthfully regal. It was modern with a classic twist to it, which was fantastic, because I didn't want Kate to sort of lose touch of Kate in the whole pageantry of this occasion. And I think Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen did a sublime job.
Preparations were made in secret by committees of experts, all determined to make a perfect day for the young couple, as well as the British public. Millions of pounds were invested in every facet of the occasion, from security to catering.
You know, security just alone is probably going to cost £1 million, if not more. There's going to be processionals, there's going to be caterers.
So how did you feel when you got the call early in February? Did you think, hey, someone's having me in here?
I couldn't believe it. I was overjoyed, but I was working with half a dozen other people, and so after the call I had to carry on pretending that nothing had actually happened, and that was a little tricky. We've been guided very much so by the couple, by Catherine especially. Right at the beginning we were given some mood boards which she had created, and we have been guided by her right at the beginning, and it's lovely that she, as a bride, has such a strong idea of what she would like, because that's not always the case. So the cake will be traditional, but with a modern twist.
The day of the wedding was a truly magnificent spectacle. Thousands flocked to London to soak in the atmosphere of excitement and genuine joy, and a real sense of pride and patriotism swept the nation.
What a fabulous day to be here in London. The entire world is watching. Something like 2 billion people watch this on television, on the internet, more than any other event, forget royal event, any event in history, tuned in to watch William and Kate get married today.
It's a really exciting atmosphere here. I think people are very proud to be English. You're seeing a lot of nationalism, a lot of Union Jacks displayed everywhere, and of course the large contingent of Americans and people from all over the world who have come to celebrate this very, very special couple.
I have with me Paddy Harverson, who is Communications Secretary at Clarence House, who's the man absolutely at the centre of these last few months of preparations and planning. How are you feeling today? How's it all
Very
gone?
excited, yeah, and relaxed. I think the planning's gone well. We're all here, the crowds are here, the weather's holding on, so it's fantastic.
And tell me about the Prince. How's he doing this morning?
He's great. I mean, you know, he's had breakfast with his brother and their friends, and I was with him last night. We were in the press office at Clarence House, and he rang up, said, I want to go outside and meet the crowd. So we all piled out, and it was just fantastic, a lovely spontaneous thing. He wanted to go and say thank you to everyone for coming along and queuing up overnight. So he's in great form.
As the British public filled the streets of London to share this historical event, the ceremony boasted a star-studded lineup. As Prince William made his way to Westminster Abbey, he was no doubt lifted by thousands of cheering bystanders, greeting and supporting one of the future kings of England. As Kate Middleton emerged for the first time in her wedding dress, the world was looking at a young woman who had been working hard to prepare herself for royal life.
There's a veil, and there is Kate Middleton. We can see that the train of the dress helped into the rear of the vehicle, lace surrounding Kate Middleton's neck and the veil. A great view there of the proud father, Mike Middleton, as he adjusts his jacket, a reassuring pat on the arm for his daughter.
Lily of the Valley on his lapel.
Last night, Catherine Middleton spent the night surrounded by her family in a hotel they'd booked out, full of love and warmth, and we know that Princess Diana had her dinner on her tray along the road in Clarence House with Her Majesty the Queen Mother, but a woman who was in her 80s, you know, pretty old, and alone, not with her parents, not with her sisters. And of course, all that makes a difference. And of course, Diana was so young, 20, and you have Kate Middleton, who's nearly 10 years older, well-educated, very stable, very confident. I think this morning we saw a bride who's going to be very happy in this royal family.
Everybody standing here behind us, the million people lining the route, all wanted that shot of the dream princess.
Yeah.
And we've only seen a glimpse so far of what she would
But
be.
she hasn't let us down, has she?
But absolutely, she hasn't let us down.
This is when the British come to their own. We have all the equipment. We have the household cavalry. We have the wonderful carriages. We have those ancient Rolls Royces. And there's great spirit here. A spirit I think you could say was evocative of 1981 and the wedding of Prince William's parents, Charles and Diana. There's a real enthusiasm for it.
She is wearing brand Alexander McQueen. It is a wedding dress that has been designed, as was speculated, by Sarah Burton. So if you imagined a fairy tale princess and her dress, is that the picture you had in your mind? I think perhaps it might have been.
It is the sight, after all these months of build-up and speculation, that many have been longing for, and she's taking a moment to give the crowd a wave.
The team have said that the dress epitomises timeless British craftsmanship by drawing together talented and skilled workmanship from across the United Kingdom.
Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honour and keep her, in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other keep thee only unto her, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
I will.
It was very clever of Catherine Middleton, who has done nothing to shock or surprise us, no bad leaks, no bad stories. This is a dress she could have almost worn in her local parish church out in the country. A beautiful dress, but nothing that will frighten the horses, nothing that will stun people. And she looked beautiful and very confident.
Amen.
The ceremony was a truly joyous event. As Kate Middleton stepped out of Westminster Abbey, wife to the future king, she was officially entering a powerful family, each member of which holds Kate in very high regard, recognizing her natural ability to support William in his life of duty and service to the nation.
So we can see a twitch at the window. The French curtains, those little net curtains in the French windows, just a little bit of a twitch. Her Majesty the Queen organising everyone behind. Is everybody ready? Are you okay? How do you feel? Readying everyone for the noise. She, of
And
course,
some
has done it before.
movement
There's
there.
definitely movement inside.
We can see some movement there behind those curtains, and here we go.
Oh, wow, she says.
Oh, wow.
As Buckingham Palace was surrounded by thousands of cheering onlookers, they finally got to witness the first public kiss between Prince William and Kate Middleton.
That was the kiss that everybody wanted.
And there was no prompting or persuasion needed.
No.
The wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton was one that will go down in British history as a most extraordinary event. It was viewed by billions of people around the world. Given that many British royal marriages have not had their fairy tale endings, William and Kate will be truly determined to make this royal marriage one that will survive and thrive. On the 3rd of December 2012, Clarence House announced that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were expecting their first child. However, the announcement did not go according to plan.
Kate was forced to announce prior to being 12 weeks pregnant that she was in fact expecting because she was hospitalized for very, very severe morning sickness. She suffers for something called hyperemesis gravidarum, which is a very somewhat rare form of extreme morning sickness. This goes way beyond the typical nausea and discomfort that most women feel. This is very extreme, where the mother-to-be is unable to keep down any solids or even sometimes liquids. It can be quite serious both for mother and baby.
Obviously, there'd been an awful lot of anticipation as when Kate was going to announce that she was pregnant. I mean, in fact, I think the announcement was suggested for about 6 months beforehand. Everyone was writing in the papers that she was pregnant. The palace had put out the official announcement as she was en route to the hospital. because she'd had problems with the pregnancy, and it was felt that William and Kate didn't want to even tell the Queen or Prince Charles that she was pregnant until they were absolutely certain everything was okay. So that's what happened. The actual announcement happened because she was feeling unwell and was taken to hospital.
William and Kate had talked at length about how they wanted to make this announcement to the world, and it certainly wasn't going to be this way and at that stage in the pregnancy. Most celebrities, particularly royals, wait until that first trimester is finished before they make any happy announcements.
The Duchess was admitted to St Mary's Hospital in London in the early stages of labour on the morning of the 22nd of July 2013 and gave birth to a baby boy weighing 8 pounds and 6 ounces at 4:24 p.m. on that same day. Kensington Palace announced that the baby would be named George Alexander Louis.
Well, the birth of Prince George was really like a national celebration. It felt like a national holiday. There was excitement in the air all around the country. It very much reminded me of the feeling of the royal wedding day when William and Kate got married. Everyone was universally happy. Everyone was constantly checking the news feeds on their phone and on the television in order to see, waiting for William and Kate to come out from the hospital for the first time, holding the new baby prince.
Well, actually, I've covered the royal family for 25 years, and the excitement around the birth of Prince George has surpassed most of the things I'd covered, actually, even the royal weddings. And it was a huge bun fight, if you like, outside the Lindo wing of the St Mary's Hospital, Paddington. There were hundreds of journalists there, as well as camera crews and members of the public. The excitement began to gather when, of course, she was snuck in the back door and was actually inside the hospital.
I have several friends actually with news organizations who were standing outside the hospital that day, waiting hours after hour for William and Kate to come out. And actually, they came out quite a bit later than expected because typical William and Kate's strategy fashion, they were greeting and thanking every single member of staff at the hospital personally for the very smooth birth. They wanted to make sure they thanked everyone from the cleaner to the midwife to the surgeon to say thank you very much. So they did actually take a long time to emerge. When they did, Kate was roundly praised in the press for her choice of dress. You know, a lot of women, when they first have a baby, are very self-conscious about the fact that they oftentimes still look pregnant. They still have a very swollen stomach. Kate was not at all ashamed of this. In fact, wore a dress which highlighted the fact that she still had a very rounded tummy. And a lot of women praised her for this, said that it made a difference because it kind of just emphasized the fact that women don't need to be ashamed of their bodies when they've had a baby. And it was really a lovely thing that she did. She came out, she was absolutely beautiful and radiant. I'm sure she had some help with makeup and hair. In fact, we saw some of her stylists coming into the hospital before she emerged. So we know that she had a little help, but she did look fantastic and they looked absolutely in love. As William and Kate were leaving their press call, when they came out with the baby, he was seen to be very affectionate with her. He had his hand on the small of her back, and he called her Puppet. So we now know one of his sweet names of endearment for his lovely wife.
Very emotional. Yeah, it's very emotional, and it's such a special time. I think any parent, I think, will probably sort of know what this feeling feels like. So
it's very special.
They're very much hands-on parents. I mean, William made it very clear when George was born that he wanted to be a hands-on parent. He took time off to spend with George and Kate. They didn't have a nanny straight away. They were very anti having an extended staff to look after their children, look after them. But I think as time has gone on, they've realised they do need that extra help. They can't just rely upon, say, Carol, Kate's mother, and other members of the family. They do need that because they're very much in the public eye.
Well, William and Kate, as parents, we know are very structured. From what we've heard coming out of the palace, Prince George is on a very strict schedule that never deviates. You know, he has his meals at a certain time, his tea, his goes to bed at a certain time, his naps. Everything is regimented. They have a nanny from Spain who is a very thorough and organized young woman, no nonsense, and that is how George is being raised.
William, in particular, wants to be a hands-on parent. Kate, too, doesn't really want to pass on the responsibility of motherhood either. But, you know, when you're in the royal family, when you're in the public eye, it's very, very difficult to do everything. And I think that even Kate and William have found that, and so they are now realising that it's important to have the extra help that they require.
Kate and William are strict parents. You know, I read somewhere that they mostly bought him toys made of wood because that was traditional. I can't imagine anything worse. But again, they are following the royal customs and traditions. They are not overindulging or spoiling this little boy as much as they can. Having said that, they have an awful lot of help. In addition to their full-time nanny, they have other nannies who come in and help. They have a full staff of servants. Having said that, Kate has broken precedents in the sense that she does more for herself than anyone else in her position has ever done before. In fact, Kate and William's head housekeeper and head gardener both quit. They were a married couple. And it was very controversial because they had actually worked for the Queen previously and then come over to work for Prince William and Kate. There was a lot of speculation at the time that Carol Middleton had been interfering in the housekeeper's duties, that Kate Middleton was doing a lot for herself, and that didn't sit too well with the staff. You know, Kate's in a difficult position because she didn't grow up with household servants, and she likes to cook, for example. She likes to do things for William and very much likes the privacy that one gets without servants around. At the same time, William grew up with a retinue of servants and staff, and he has a certain lifestyle. So it's a balance, I think, of those two things, the privacy that they want and also Kate feeling like she's taking care of her own home. But at the same time, you know, there's public engagements, there's all kinds of things that require her attention, and they do need a lot of help.
Given that Kate Middleton was an outsider coming into the royal family, there is no question that she would have had to have made a good impression on Queen Elizabeth. Her Majesty must have been very keen to ensure that her grandson would find someone with stickability and a devotion to duty as steadfast as her own.
Well, the Queen wears two hats, and she, one of them being a crown. As Queen, she's obviously thrilled, I'm sure, that Prince William is in a happy marriage, that the heir is born in Prince George. That's the role, to make sure that the line of succession is secured. But as a grandmother and a great-grandmother, I'm sure she's absolutely thrilled with the way that the William and Kate are in love and they're enjoying a happy marriage together. It's very stable.
Queen Elizabeth is probably a tough person to impress, and I can only imagine the nerves that Kate must have felt being a commoner and meeting the Queen for the first time. She didn't come from the aristocratic class that would have perhaps already met the Queen at various occasions and certainly had family members who had. Kate came in completely from the outside into this very tight-knit royal circle. To her great credit, Queen Elizabeth appears to have also learned from the lessons of Diana and really welcomed Kate into the family in a way that I don't think Diana was ever exactly welcomed. And Kate was given a lot of support by royal staff and royal household as she grew into the role of being a duchess, of being a princess. They gave her time and space and resources in order to help and support her in that role, and it's done wonders.
She always used to say that it was important that her grandchildren, particularly William and Harry, enjoy a long courtship so that people coming into the royal family understand the intricacies and difficulties of being a member of the royal family. And I think that has certainly paid off in the case of William and Kate. They're a stable, happy family. They represent what is good about marriage and what is good about having an extended family. And the royal family themselves, that is part of their role, and I'm sure the Queen is delighted with that.
Queen Elizabeth is said to be very fond of Kate Middleton. She likes her British sensibility. She likes her middle-class values. She likes that she's close to her family. And Kate has never tried to garner extra attention for herself. There's nothing flashy or showy. Kate toes the company line all the time. And that's something that Queen Elizabeth very much wanted from Diana, which didn't happen. She wanted from Sarah Ferguson, which didn't happen, but has very much so happened with Kate Middleton. There are lots of people who believe Kate is a special favorite of the Queen's because of the way she continuously, consistently supports the family, supports William, and never seems to put a step wrong.
So, it seems that Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, has the utmost respect for and from the Queen. But how do the British media and the public view Kate?
We get the impression, I think, from the media that Kate is very careful, she dresses very conservatively, that she's not going to put her foot wrong. In fact, she'd prefer not to do anything than put her foot wrong, which I do think is probably correct. I personally think that she should be a bit more outgoing, a bit more adventurous, and try really to expand her role and her interests, because if you think at Princess Diana, she had hundreds of charities and organisations that she was patron of and supported. Kate has only a handful. I understand that she wants to spend more time with those and more time with her family, but I think it would probably help if she was a bit more flamboyant. We have a very particular picture of her in that respect. She's quite reserved. But, you know, this is the same girl that when she was trying to pull Prince William, she was wearing a see-through out dress and sashayed down a catwalk. So, and she is quite, you know, and that was quite a bold thing to do. So she can't have been too shy or backward at coming forward in that respect. So I think we get one impression of her in that respect. When they split up, she went to a bunny girl party dressed with the ears and everything. So look, there's got to be two sides to her, but at the moment she doesn't really seem to want to put her foot wrong, and I don't think she will for a while.
Given that Princess Diana was such an avid supporter of hundreds of worthy causes around the world, supporting charities is an aspect of life that has been ingrained into Prince William from a very early age.
Prince William is involved with quite a few charities. One in particular, he's been involved in AIDS work and AIDS charities since he was very young. And of course, that came from a deep commitment that his mother, Diana, had to the cause. Prince William is also involved in several charities related to Africa. You know, Africa was very much a part of his experience between high school and university. And he went out there and had a gap year, as they call it, and really fell in love with the country. So he and Harry both actually have been involved in several charities in Africa as well. William is also involved very much so with a charity called Centrepoint, which is an organization that works to help the homeless. You know, Princess Diana originally kind of got both William and Harry interested in this subject by introducing them and taking them out to meet and talk to homeless people. She always wanted them to see there was another side to their very gilded life in the palace. And since her untimely death, William has continued to be active and involved in Centrepoint. He's even spent the night out on the streets. That's something that he's passionate about, that he cares about. I think it helps to give him some perspective in the midst of his very often glamorous life.
It's not just about palaces and privilege, it was about paupers and people that were in dire straits. And I think that's something that's been embedded in his mind ever since. He's somebody, I think, that cares deeply about issues, but the homeless is one that he's actively involved with. He's also very keen in trying to help young people that are on drugs and are trying to get through that problem. And he does lend a lot of support to that. And in fact, it's my understanding he's not only doing stuff where he helps himself, he actually does put his money where his mouth is, and through his foundation, he has contributed quite a lot of money. But William, really, his primary focus has been conservation, and particularly the conservation of endangered species. That's one of the most important charities that you see him speaking out on most of the time, saving the elephant, saving the tiger. And he tries to do it in quite an interesting way as well. He's done direct YouTube appeals where he's talking straight down the lens. He makes very passionate speeches, in quite difficult circumstances sometimes, in places where it's slightly embarrassing to be speaking so publicly against countries that have not really done very much to save wildlife. That is one of his main concerns. He spent a lot of time in his youth in Africa, and I think it's certainly the role of his father, Prince Charles, in conservation has had a big impact upon him. It's something he's deeply, deeply passionate about.
In early 2014, it was confirmed that Prince William and Kate Middleton, along with Prince George, would be touring Australia and New Zealand.
The trip to Australia was truly amazing, actually, in terms of the response. I think that they certainly dubbed Prince George the Republican Slayer, because in terms of popularity of the monarchy, it soared. I was covering it for one of the leading networks in Australia, and they were doing hour-long specials live from the events, such as at Manly Beach, when they arrived there, when there were thousands and thousands of people just there to see them. The truth of it is, though, is that they were the star attraction and have been a star attraction for some time in Australia and New Zealand. People love the connection with the royal family in that part of the world, because they're not only celebrity, but there's a connection with them. They're technically one day going to be the King and Queen of Australia. So it was a huge event. And I went to a reception before that at Kensington Palace, where William and Kate came out, and they were introducing the media that were travelling to the little George, and he was in great form. And they were quite nervous, I think, Kate in particular, about the reception they were going to receive. How big would it be? And they knew it was going to be huge. But I don't think even when they got there, they expected it to be as huge as it was. They went to the Taronga Zoo in Sydney, which is a fabulous zoo. It overlooks the Sydney Harbour, and it was a brilliant engagement. They went there primarily as the main engagement for Prince George. He was going to be filmed and photographed in the Bilby area, which is a compound. A bilby is seemed to me a bit like a cross between a rabbit and a rat. It was just an Australian animal, and he was taken by that.
I invite you to unveil the Prince George Cambridge Bilby exhibit. Now, we do have a small gift for Prince George to acknowledge his time here. This is a bilby, an Australian bilby, with a Taronga Zoo bilby and Kate, just as a reminder for when he's a bit older.
It certainly was the lead item on all the networks in Australia and in fact all around the world that day, because we hadn't really seen much of Prince George.
Their relationship has been played out so vividly in the public spotlight, and they've had to deal with the highs and lows of a relationship any couple must go through. But there is no doubting the sincerity and solidarity of their partnership in all its forms.
They are an incredibly down-to-earth couple. I remember meeting them together as a couple for the very first time on the day the palace announced that they were getting married. And a few journalists were invited to go to St James's Palace and have a cup of tea with them. Well, that's not an offer you get very often. So, of course, we jumped at the invite and took tea with them. And I think everyone was terribly nervous, not least William and Kate. I mean, it was the first time they had met the British media. I'd seen them at nightclubs before. I'd spent my time, watching them at polo matches and charting this amazing relationship. But the first time really to actually sit down and talk with them, I remember Kate being very nervous, but incredibly sweet and kind and interested in what we were doing and how we were covering the story. And they both just seemed so well matched. You could see it in their body chemistry even at that stage, and on a moment, fraught with nerves. They were about to meet the world's press. All the paparazzi and the photographers, rather, were waiting next door to take their pictures. But even under that sort of pressure, they gravitated towards each other. I remember William having his hand in the small of Kate's back, guiding her, making sure she was all right. And I think that's what you've seen over the years. He has wanted to just make sure that she is comfortable, that she feels confident and happy in what she's doing. And as he said in that engagement interview, and I think it was such a poignant and important thing that he said, that he waited so long to propose, not because he wasn't sure, I think he probably had been sure for a long time, but it was so that he could give Kate the opportunity to see exactly what married life would be like and get out if it wasn't what she wanted. And, you know, when you see them together, you do see a couple genuinely in love. They're very happy together. They work well together. They're a team. And I think they are great assets for the British royal family and great assets for the country.
It is no secret that William and Kate's desire for privacy is paramount. Normally, they would have taken residence at Kensington Palace in London, but the couple felt there would have been a significant lack of privacy had they taken residence at the palace. They would have been easily overlooked and right in the heart of the London buzz, with a much higher chance of the paparazzi being able to photograph them in their private moments. They very quickly accepted when Queen Elizabeth offered them residence at Anmer Hall, a fantastic Georgian house in the Norfolk countryside, close to Sandringham.
Neither William and Kate are city people. They love the countryside, they love the outdoors. So when the Queen decided to gift Anmer Hall, which is a beautiful property on the Sandringham estate, to William for his 30th birthday, they knew that it was the perfect getaway. It was going to be their country bolt hole, and they've spent the best part of 2 years and about £2 million, in fact, doing that property up and making it a retreat. It's a fortress. You can't get anywhere near the property. Security is paramount, and there's a huge amount of space. And most importantly, they are not spied on. They can get away there, and they love the countryside. They're happier there than they are here in London.
On the 8th of September 2014, Clarence House announced that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were expecting the birth of their second child, but again the announcement did not go to plan. As with her first pregnancy, Kate suffered from severe morning sickness, otherwise known as hyperemesis gravidarum, and she was forced to cancel a number of public engagements.
Again, you know, it's not what William and Kate wanted. They very much wanted the pregnancy to kind of go a little bit farther along before they confirmed to the world. But again, their hand was forced because of Kate's morning sickness.
Congratulations.
Hi,
Congratulations. How's Catherine feeling?
She's feeling okay, thanks. It's been a tricky few days, week or so, but obviously we're immensely thrilled. It's great news. Early days, but I'm hoping things settle down and she feels a bit better. But it's important that we all focus on the big news and the big international and domestic things that are going on at the moment. So that's what my sort of thoughts are at the moment. I'm going to go back and look after her now.
It's early days, but you must be very excited.
Thank you.
Some women get morning sickness not until, 6 or 7 weeks in, but Kate seems to get it almost immediately and to a very great degree. So the fact that she was forced to start canceling appearances meant that the palace was forced to confirm the second baby was on the way.
While Kate was heavily pregnant, Prince William was sent on a diplomatic mission to China, where he met with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. Prince William was the most senior British royal to visit China since the Queen's tour of the country in 1986. Following the important royal visit, the relationship between the two countries is now focused more on business after a run of political differences over Hong Kong and Tibet.
It was seen as a very important diplomatic move for Prince William. The first time he'd really carried out such a tour on behalf of the British government. It wasn't on behalf of the Queen this time. And he did an amazing job at repairing, a problematic history between the British royal family and the Chinese.
Britain has some of the best universities in the world, and we are truly privileged to attract the best students in the world, including those from China. This is not a one-way traffic. The number of British students coming to China grows every year. These students, in years to come, will form a network to the benefit of both our countries, sharing their experiences and ideas, and cooperating in tackling the huge challenges that confront the next generation.
The trip was seen as a triumph. Prince William carried out his diplomatic duties and successfully eased the previously tense relationship between the British and the Chinese. Prince William's return from China heralded the imminent arrival of the new royal baby, and the world's media set up camp around Buckingham Palace and St Mary's Hospital as international interest grew. On the 2nd of May 2015, at 8:34 a.m. local time, the Duchess gave birth to a daughter who weighed 8 pounds and 3 ounces. The following evening, iconic London landmarks such as Tower Bridge, the London Eye and the Trafalgar Square fountains were illuminated pink to mark the birth of the princess. Later that day, the palace announced she was to be named Charlotte Elizabeth Diana. The birth of the princess was cause for national celebration. A little sister for Prince George, the daughter Prince William had always wanted, and the granddaughter Prince Charles had always hoped for. Prince William had made it clear that after leaving military service, where he served as a search and rescue pilot, he wished to continue to do a day job, something other than his royal duties. He is known to have a love for flying, and he quickly took up pilot duties for East Anglian Air Ambulance, which meant working for a private company, Bond Air.
If there's been an accident on a motorway or a major road, he will be the one that flies in the medical team to assist. So it's a proper full-on job, as well as being a member of the royal family. The roster will mean that he is able to fulfil his role as a member of the royal family too. So he won't, when he has a royal tour or when he's got engagements to do with his charities or with the military, where he's still a colonel-in-chief of various regiments, he will be able to do that.
You've done your training. Are you mentally prepared for some of the things that you'll have to face, those difficult and traumatic things that you'll come across in this job?
I think nothing ever prepares you that well for what you're going to see and some of the incidences. But having done search and rescue before, we saw a lot of that already. And when you're working with a team, you help each other out and you talk about it, and you get through it that way. And so it's very important to talk about it.
The money that he does earn from this role, he will give back to the charity. He's a multimillionaire in his own right, obviously, from money he's inherited from the late Princess Diana. So it's a job that he would take very seriously and one that he really wants to fulfil. I think it gives him an added sense of purpose. He and Kate's relationship over a period of time has always had these separations. You know, he's been serving in the military, so she's used to that. And I think it's important that he has that time where he feels he's doing a proper job, as well as the time when they spend together, when they are working together as members of the royal family.
While Prince William was busy establishing his role as an air ambulance pilot, Kate was also busy with finding her own way in the world and establishing ventures of her own. Since her introduction into the royal family, she has always been keen to follow the royal duty and tradition of supporting worthwhile charitable enterprises.
Well, Kate's been very careful about the charities that she's chosen. She didn't rush to take on, handfuls of charities. She handpicked them. There wasn't a huge number of them, and they were charities that really meant things to her.
So Kate's set out her stall that she wants to support, in the first instance, children. So she's supporting some hospice charities, each the East Anglia Children's Hospices. She's equally decided to be a volunteer scout, so supporting children out and about, enjoying country pursuits as she does.
And actually she's been ahead of the curve on most of the choices that she's made. She's put children's hospices on the map, and she's also done a huge amount of good for mental health. It's another cause that she's very much behind. So she will know how important she is as a patron to those charities, to put them in that international spotlight, and she won't want to spend too long away from them.
She's also been involved in action on addiction, so she's saying that she wants to help people. She thinks that addiction is the root to quite a lot of society's ills, be it children or their parents, and so she wants to get involved in that. And also, because she studied history of art and is a keen artist and photographer, there's her patronage of the National Portrait Gallery and other artistic pursuits. And she's mixed them a little bit, so she also supports a cause called the Art Room, which helps children, gives children therapy through the medium of art.
Hello, what's your name? Hello, very nice to meet you. These are your friends. Oh, yeah. And what have you made? This is a card.
Yeah. It's a very big card, isn't it? What's on the front? It's a flower. Wow. So pretty, isn't it? And are these all your fingers? These are your fingerprints? Yeah.
Their third child, Prince Louis Arthur Charles, was born on the 23rd of April 2018. He remains fifth in the line of succession after his sister Princess Charlotte. Since the tragic death of Princess Diana, the British press has taken a different stance on how they treat members of the monarchy. Previously, the British royal family was hounded by the paparazzi. Nowadays, their privacy is respected much more, particularly by the British media.
You've got a situation with Prince William being fiercely protective of his family's privacy, complaining a lot about paparazzi shots, which is why we don't see them, at least in the British papers, out and about at the park, because newspaper editors have decided not to run them, thinking they're too intrusive. They have been online and they are in foreign magazines, but the British press have actually never respected the royal family's privacy more.
I think the couple recognise that there's a huge interest not just in them, but also now in their children, that they are international icons, they are famous around the world. And I suppose that by giving the public a glimpse, it might lessen the need for snatched paparazzi pictures, which is something they feel very strongly about, and they take legal action against. So it's a case of finding a happy medium.
Since the introduction of the Middletons into the royal family, there has been much debate around them, as before their introduction, a future king had never married anyone outside of the aristocracy. Carol Middleton is very much the matriarch of the Middleton family, the linchpin around whom everything orbits.
She's done that remarkably with William's family as well. She is, I think, far more hands-on with the Cambridges than most people realise. When you look at the birth of Prince George, it was unprecedented for a future king to be raised not in a palace, but a regular house, and not just that, but by the grandparents who weren't his paternal grandparents. They weren't royal grandparents, they were Kate's parents. So that was very unusual, and we know that she's been very important, and I think what she's brought to William and Kate is a lack of tradition, if you want, the formality that you expect with the royals, the nursery being the domain of the nanny and governesses, and you know, the children are kept away from the adults. That's not the case at Kensington Palace. At Apartment 1A, the children are very much a part of William and Kate's life, and I think that's a reflection of Kate's own childhood. And I think it's what Diana would have absolutely wanted. It was what she wanted for William and Harry, and you know, Diana really broke the mould. When it came to parenting, she did things differently. With Charles, he should take credit for that too. But I think what you've seen with William and Kate is they've taken it to a different level, and they've done that very much with the help of Mrs. Middleton.
Despite the British media's mixed opinion on the Middleton family, they remain unique in the history of the British royal family. They have clearly been more instrumental and influential than any other family that has married into the House of Windsor.
If you look at Sophie Wessex, or as she was then, Sophie Rhys-Jones, even Princess Diana and Sarah Ferguson, their families were very much kept on the periphery, and that was a deliberate move. You know, once you married into the royal family, you became a Windsor, and that was that. Well, it was different when Kate and William got married, and when William asked Kate to marry him, he made it very clear that she wouldn't have to leave her family behind her once she married into his family. He promised her that they'd always stay a part of the family, and they have done, whether it's joining the Queen at Ascot or being on an important barge within the Queen's fleet at the Diamond Jubilee celebrations, being the first visitors to go and see Prince George when he was born, even before the future king, Prince Charles. All of these things are very significant because they're William's way of saying, you are part of this family and we are going to include you.
I think William gets on very well with the Middletons. I think the stability and ordinariness of their life really appeals to him. I think Michael Middleton is a straight down the line kind of guy who William gets on so well with. He affectionately calls him Dad. I think there's been a lot of snottiness about Carol Middleton and how she's a social climber and she's pushed her daughter in this direction. I just think she's very proud of her children and wants the best for them. And actually, you can say anything you like about the Duchess of Cambridge, but you can't accuse her of not being impeccably well brought up, as are all those children who had, in fact, done their sister very proud on the wedding day itself, not least James, who gave that great reading in the church. So actually, I think the Middletons are this picture of middle-class respectability that can only be a good thing for the royal family.
In recent years, after Prince Philip stood down in his royal duties and later died in April 2021, and Harry and Meghan decided to carve out a different life for themselves, Kate and William have begun to take on more royal duties and step up to their responsibilities as senior members of the royal family. The couple's stability and dedication to service has caused them to be likened to Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Ever since being pictured together for the first time back in 2004 on the snowy slopes of Closters, William and Kate's relationship has been under the public microscope. They have fulfilled their roles and responsibilities with the growing admiration of the British public and beyond. They have produced 3 healthy and happy children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis. In their first 40 years, the world has watched them transform from a young couple to role models in the modern monarchy.
Their relationship grew out of cold winter nights spent in a university digs, having spaghetti bolognese and talking about anything other than being a prince or princess.
I think Kate and William have a good chance of making this work. They are both very committed to the monarchy and making kind of a united front, whatever personal problems they might have. Kate has proven herself to be a team player. She's proven herself to be discreet. She's also proven that she's willing to put her own interests behind the interests of her husband.
When you're looking at what William and Kate have in common as a couple, is the fact that they're just really quite well grounded.
Well, William and Kate are determined to build a very happy home life for their children. I think that is of paramount importance to both of them.
And William seems to be doing a much better job of preparing Kate for royal life than Charles did for his mother.
I think Diana, Princess of Wales, would certainly have approved of Kate Middleton. I think she would have liked her style. She would have liked the fact that she has stood up for herself in this relationship. She will see her as a very adequate foil for her eldest son.
One of the reasons he fell so deeply in love with Kate Middleton was her very British upbringing, her very close family. And William is determined to replicate that as best as he can within the confines and strictures of the palace.
They both know exactly what they want, and I think there's a real strong element of trust. They've been through a hell of a lot.
Their relationship has grown out of being just William and Kate. And I think that that's something that throughout their married life, as much as they can, they will try and retain.
The task ahead of them is great, and they show every sign of having the character, personality, tenacity and skills to stay with the job, surviving and thriving, whilst keeping alive the values and traditions of the British royal family in the modern world. Let's see what the next 40 years have in store for William and Kate, Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.